All right, let's dive into mindfulness for modern life.
I like it. A deep dive.
And I know you're out there thinking, okay, mindfulness, how do I actually make it happen? And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We've
Exactly.
got a couple of websites here, Calm Sage and Mindful, both focused on mental well-being.
Yeah.
And then this super interesting article called Mindfulness Meditation, How to Stay Present in Everyday Life from Mantis Meditation.
That's a great lineup.
Yeah. So we're not just going to talk about what mindfulness is, but how to, like I said, bring it into your actual life.
Exactly, like a cheat sheet to actually apply this stuff.
Yes. A cheat sheet, love it.
Not just read about it.
Yeah, because we all know we should be mindful, but actually doing it.
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
Totally.
So let's just start with, what is this mindfulness thing anyway? And, why should I even care?
Yeah. So all of our sources, they all agree on this. Mindfulness is about being present in this moment without judgment.
Great.
And I think that without judgment part is where people kind of trip up.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
It's not about beating yourself up for having thoughts. It's about just observing them as they arise, like clouds passing through the sky.
I like that, just kind of watching them go by.
Yeah.
Now, Mantis Meditation, they add another layer to this, right? It's not just about observing your thoughts and emotions, but also your physical sensations.
That's right.
So it's really about, tuning into your whole experience, not just what's going on in your head.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where the why starts to make a lot of sense.
Okay, tell me more.
Mantis meditation lays out the benefits, and it's not just about feeling like a little less stressed.
Right.
Studies actually show that mindfulness can lower cortisol levels, that's the stress hormone,
Oh, wow.
which has huge implications for your physical and mental health.
Okay, so less stress. I mean, who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there's got to be more to it than just that.
Oh, absolutely.
Like what else?
Well, think about all the times you felt scattered or you couldn't focus or maybe even overwhelmed by your emotions.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Mindfulness can help with all of that.
Really?
It's like a workout for your attention span, helping you concentrate better and stay on task. And when you're more aware of your emotions, you're less likely to be controlled by them.
So instead of just mindlessly reacting to a stressful situation, you can actually pause and observe those feelings and then choose a more thoughtful response.
Precisely, yeah.
Okay, now I'm seeing how this could be useful, but let's get practical. How do you actually do it? Where do you even begin?
Well, that's where the techniques come in, and all three of our sources point to one very simple starting point. Breathing.
Breathing. I mean, don't we kind of already do that?
Yeah, but Mantis Meditation talks about using your breath as an anchor throughout your day, not just when you're feeling stressed, but in those in-between moments too.
Okay.
Just taking a few conscious breaths and noticing that sensation of your breath flowing in and out.
I've tried that before, and it really is surprising how quickly it can just shift your whole state of mind.
Isn't it?
Yeah, even a few deep breaths, it can really calm you down when you're feeling overwhelmed.
Exactly. And the best part is you can do it anytime, anywhere.
That's true.
You don't need any special equipment or a quiet room. You can practice it in traffic, waiting in line, even in the middle of a crazy meeting.
Okay, breathing, I get it.
Right.
But what about those times when you need a little more than just a few breaths, What other techniques do they talk about?
Well, they all emphasize finding ways to be mindful in your everyday activities. And one that really stood out to me was mindful eating.
Mindful eating.
Yeah. Have you ever really paid attention to the experience of eating?
Honestly, not really.
Right.
I'm usually multitasking, shoveling food in while I'm checking emails or scrolling through social media.
I think a lot of us are guilty of that.
Yeah.
But Mantis Meditation says, hey, slow down, actually savor your food, notice the textures, the flavors, the aromas, put away all those distractions so you can fully experience each bite.
Wow, okay. I mean, it sounds simple, but I can see how that could be pretty powerful.
It can be transformative.
It's like turning something totally ordinary into a chance to practice mindfulness.
Exactly. And you can do the same thing with so many other activities. Mantis Meditation also talks about walking meditation.
So more than just taking a stroll in the park.
Right. It's about bringing that same awareness to the act of walking, noticing the feeling of your feet on the ground, the movement of your legs, the rhythm of your breath.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, this practice isn't new. It has roots in ancient Buddhist traditions.
Oh, wow.
It's been used for centuries to cultivate mindfulness.
I love that. We can tap into this ancient wisdom just by paying attention to something as simple as walking.
It is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And speaking of ancient wisdom, our sources also talk about the importance of taking breaks from technology.
Ooh, okay, this is where I need to take notes.
Yeah.
I am definitely guilty of being glued to my phone way too much.
Oh, you're not alone.
Okay, good.
We live in a world that's constantly demanding our attention, but taking those breaks can do wonders.
So how do you actually do that? It's easy to say take a tech break, but putting it into practice, that's tough.
One thing that I find really helpful is having tech-free zones in my home.
Okay.
Like my bedroom is a sanctuary, no phones or laptops allowed in there.
So it's about creating those boundaries, giving yourself permission to actually disconnect.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be anything drastic, even small steps like putting your phone away during meals or having a digital detox for an hour before bed.
That's a good idea.
It can make a big difference.
Okay, so we've got breathing, mindful eating, walking meditation, tech breaks. What other mindfulness gems did you find in these articles?
Well, one that really resonated with me was the power of gratitude.
Gratitude, yeah, that's a good one, but sometimes it feels a little too, I don't know, woo-woo for me.
I get that, but there's actually a lot of research backing up the benefits.
Really?
It's not just about feeling good, it's about actually changing the way your brain works. Studies show that practicing gratitude can boost your happiness, reduce stress, even improve your physical health.
Okay, so gratitude isn't just some fluffy feel-good thing. It's actually, like, backed by science. I like that.
It is.
So how do you actually, like, put gratitude into practice?
It can be as simple as taking a few minutes each day to reflect on what you're grateful for, maybe write it down in a journal, or just think about it during your walk.
So it's about intentionally shifting your focus from what's wrong to what's right.
Exactly. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
Okay, I'm going to try that. So we've covered a lot of different techniques here, but one thing that's really sticking out to me is that they all seem to emphasize finding mindfulness in everyday activities.
You're right. It's not just about meditating for an hour every day. It's about bringing that same quality of attention to everything you do.
So even something as simple as washing the dishes can become a mindfulness practice.
Absolutely. If you're really present with the sensations of the warm water, the feel of the sponge, the smell of the soap, it can be a really grounding and enjoyable experience.
You know, I've never thought of it that way. I usually just rush through those chores so I can get back to doing something fun, but I'm starting to see how shifting your perspective can make a difference.
It really can, and that's what's so fascinating about mindfulness. It's not about adding more to your to-do list.
Right.
It's about changing your relationship with the things you're already doing. It's about slowing down, paying attention, and finding those moments of stillness and connection in the middle of your busy life.
Okay, that sounds amazing, but how do you make that shift? Is there like a magic button you can press?
I wish, sadly, there's no quick fix. It's about making a conscious choice to be present, and that takes practice. But the good news is the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
So it's kind of like building a new habit.
Exactly. And just like with any new habit, start small, be consistent, choose one or two techniques that really speak to you, and make a commitment to practice them regularly.
For maybe it's 5 minutes of mindful breathing each morning, or actually putting your phone away during meals.
Exactly. And as you get more comfortable, you can gradually do more, maybe try walking meditation or explore some of those resources from Calm, Sage, and Mindful.
And it's not about being perfect, right? It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it.
Absolutely. And remember, every time you bring yourself back to the present moment, you're strengthening that mindfulness muscle.
I love that analogy, mindfulness as a mental workout.
It is.
But this brings up a question. With all these different techniques and resources out there,
Yeah.
how do you know where to start? It can feel a little overwhelming.
That's a great point, and it's something that both Calm Sage and Mindful address. They both emphasize that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to mindfulness. It's about finding what works for you.
So it's not about rigidly following some set of rules. It's about exploring different things and finding what really resonates with you personally.
Exactly, and they both offer a variety of resources to help you do just that.
Like what kind of resources?
Well, Calm Sage, they have a great section on their website dedicated to therapy resources.
Oh, that.
They have blog posts discussing different types of therapy, as well as a section on podcasts and webinars you can check out.
Cool. So lots of ways to learn more and connect with others who are interested in mental well-being.
Exactly. And Mindful takes a similar approach. They offer courses, digital guides, and audio meditations, all focused on cultivating mindfulness and living a more fulfilling life.
It's like they're giving you a whole toolkit for your mindfulness journey.
It is, and both sources stress that it's a journey, not a destination. Be kind to yourself, start small, and celebrate your progress along the way.
Yeah, Mantis meditation really hits that point home. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, being present, being patient with yourself.
Absolutely. And if you're struggling, don't be afraid to reach out for support. There
Yeah.
are so many resources available: therapy, mindfulness apps, online communities. You don't have to do this alone.
Right. Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here, the what, the why, and the how of mindfulness.
Mhm.
But what's really sticking with me is this idea of finding mindfulness in everyday life.
Yeah.
It's not just about meditating for an hour every day. It's about bringing that same quality of awareness to everything you do.
I completely agree. And I think that's what makes mindfulness so powerful. It's accessible to everyone,
Yeah.
no matter your background, beliefs, or lifestyle. It's about making a conscious choice to be present and engaged in the world around you.
And to cultivate that sense of peace and well-being within yourself.
Exactly.
I love that. And it's not just about feeling less stressed. It's about changing your whole relationship with yourself and the world.
It is, and that's why I think this deep dive has been so valuable.
Yeah.
We've taken all this information from these amazing sources: Calm Sage, Mindful, and Mantis Meditation, and we've distilled it down to something that's practical, actionable, and hopefully inspiring.
Exactly. We've given our listener a whole toolkit for cultivating mindfulness in their own life.
And now it's up to them to take what resonates and start experimenting.
There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's all about finding what works for you and making mindfulness a part of your unique journey.
I think that's beautiful.
It is. So as we continue this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier
Mhm.
about mindfulness being a journey, not a destination.
Oh, yeah.
What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, that's where self-compassion comes in.
Okay.
It's so crucial, especially when you're first starting out.
Right.
You're going to have moments where your mind wanders, you get distracted, you forget to be present.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And that's okay. It's all part of the process.
So instead of beating yourself up for not being perfectly mindful, you approach it with a sense of curiosity and kindness.
Exactly. It's like learning any new skill.
Uh-huh.
There will be times when you feel like you're nailing it and times when you feel like you're totally bombing.
Right.
But the key is to keep coming back to it, keep practicing, and be patient with yourself along the way.
I think that's a really important point because it's easy to get discouraged when you feel like you're not making progress fast enough.
Absolutely. And that's where having those resources from Calm Sage and Mindful can be so helpful.
Oh, yeah.
They offer guidance and support, and they remind you that you're not alone on this journey.
Okay, so we've talked about the techniques, the resources, the importance of self-compassion, but what about the bigger picture? What does it actually mean to live a mindful life?
To me, it's about cultivating that sense of awareness and presence in everything you do.
Okay.
It's not just about those formal mindfulness practices like meditation. It's about bringing that same quality of attention to your work, your relationships, your hobbies, even the most mundane tasks.
So even something as simple as washing the dishes can become a mindfulness practice.
Absolutely. If you're fully present with the sensations of the warm water, the feel of the sponge, the smell of the soap, it can actually be a very grounding and enjoyable experience.
You know, I never thought of it that way. I usually just rush through those chores so I can get back to doing something more fun. But I'm starting to see how shifting your perspective can really make a difference.
It really can, and that's what I find so fascinating about mindfulness. It's not about adding more things to your to-do list.
Right.
It's about changing your relationship with the things you're already doing.
Mm.
It's about slowing down, paying attention, and finding those moments of stillness and connection in the midst of your busy life.
Okay, that sounds pretty amazing. But how do you actually make that shift? Is there like a magic button you can press?
I wish, sadly, there's no quick fix.
Darn.
It's about making a conscious choice to be present. And that takes practice, but the good news is the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
So it's kind of like building a new habit.
Exactly. And just like with any new habit, it's important to start small and be consistent.
Okay.
Choose one or two techniques that resonate with you and make a commitment to practice them regularly.
So maybe it's starting with 5 minutes of mindful breathing each morning or making an effort to put your phone away during meals.
Exactly. And as you become more comfortable with those practices, you can gradually incorporate more mindfulness into your life. Maybe you try walking meditation, or you explore some of the resources offered by Calm Sage and Mindful.
And it's not about being perfect,
Yeah,
right? It's about showing up, even on those days when you don't feel like it.
absolutely. And remember, every time you bring yourself back to the present moment, you're strengthening that mindfulness muscle.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about something that came up for me while we were discussing these sources.
Sure.
It seems like there's a common misconception that mindfulness is all about emptying your mind or achieving some kind of blissful state.
Right.
But from what I'm gathering, that's not really what it's about at all.
You're absolutely right. It's not about getting rid of your thoughts or emotions. It's about learning to relate to them in a different way.
Okay.
It's about observing them without judgment and allowing them to come and go without getting swept away by them.
And it's not necessarily about feeling happy all the time,
Mhm.
right? It's about being present with whatever is arising,
Right.
whether it's pleasant or unpleasant.
Exactly. Mindfulness is about being fully present with your experience in all its messy complexity.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means being present with difficult emotions like sadness, anger, or fear.
Right.
But by allowing ourselves to feel those emotions fully without resistance, we can actually start to heal and grow.
I think that's such an important message because so often we're taught to avoid or suppress our negative emotions.
Yeah.
But mindfulness offers a different approach. It's about accepting those emotions as part of the human experience
Yeah.
and learning to navigate them with skill and compassion.
Precisely. And that's where the true power of mindfulness lies.
Hmm.
It's not about escaping from reality, it's about fully embracing it with all its joys and sorrows.
So as we near the end of our deep dive, I want to bring it back to our listener. What's one key takeaway you hope they walk away with?
I hope they realize that mindfulness isn't just some esoteric concept. It's a practical and accessible tool that they can use to transform their lives.
Yeah,
And it doesn't require a huge time commitment or a complete lifestyle overhaul.
right.
Even small, consistent practices can make a world of difference.
And I hope they feel empowered to explore the resources we've discussed, Calm Sage, Mindful, Mantis Meditation, and find what resonates with them.
Absolutely. And to remember that mindfulness is a journey, not a destination. It's about being patient with yourself, celebrating your progress, and continuing to learn and grow along the way.
Okay, so we've given our listener a lot to think about, but before we wrap things up, I want to leave them with a little challenge. Okay, so we've given our listener a lot to think about, but before we wrap things up, I want to leave them with a little challenge. Think back to everything we've talked about today, the different techniques, the resources, the benefits of mindfulness. What's one small change you can commit to? Inspired by this deep dive, I mean,
Ooh, good question. It could be something as simple as setting aside 5 minutes each morning just to focus on your breath.
yeah, I like that. Or maybe it's finally putting your phone away during meals
Oh, there you go.
and actually savoring those flavors like you're talking
Oh,
about.
be present with your food.
Exactly. Or maybe taking a tech-free walk in nature and just really tuning in
Mm.
to the sights and sounds around you.
Oh, that's a good one.
The key is to go with something that feels doable, something that excites you, and something that you can realistically stick with.
Right, make it a part of your routine.
Because even small changes can have a ripple effect,
They really can.
leading to greater peace, joy, and fulfillment.
It's amazing how much of a difference those little things can make.
And remember, mindfulness isn't a one-size-fits-all approach.
Nope.
It's about finding what works for you and making it your own.
Absolutely. So as you go about your day, I encourage you to approach everything with a sense of curiosity and openness.
Ooh, I like
Oh.
that.
See if you can find those little moments of mindfulness in the everyday, whether you're brushing your teeth, doing the dishes, or even just waiting in line at the grocery store.
Yeah, mindfulness doesn't have to be this big formal thing. It can be woven into those little everyday moments.
Exact.
And if you find yourself struggling, don't be afraid to reach out for support. Remember those resources we talked about, Calm Sage, Mindful. Those are great places to start.
Absolutely. And there are so many other great resources out there too, books, apps, online communities. It's all about finding what resonates with you and supports you on your journey.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave our listener with one final thought. Mindfulness isn't just a trend, it's a way of life. And it's a way of life that can bring more peace, more presence, and more joy to every single moment.
Beautifully said, and I couldn't agree more. So go out there and experiment, explore, and discover the power of mindfulness for yourself.